Hey, property management friends. Welcome to This Week in Property Management. I'm your host, Jeremy Pound from RentScale, and I hope everyone is ready for the holiday season. Isn't it great that Christmas and New Year's Day are both on Mondays this year? It's great to have back-to-back 3-day weekends, if you ask me. Wish we could make that happen every year. I've been enjoying the quieter meeting schedule this week, and out of that, I really put together some thoughts on something to share with you guys today as we kick off. It does seem like it's a prosperous time to be in the industry. Now, this may be exacerbated by the week we spent in Austin and all of the buzz that we got out of it from Lead Simple University and our Sales Mastery event. But it does seem like we're just fielding call after call from property managers who want to invest in growth in 2024. And they want to sign up with RentScale ASAP, and they're asking about all kinds of other services and ways to get ahead of the curve in 2024. Now, this caused us to be booking new engagements at this point in February and March already, which is exciting for us. But like I said, I wanted to share with you, it seems to be a testament to the prosperity that everybody seems to be enjoying, or at least the optimism that they have looking forward to next year. Now, this could be for a million reasons, but it's nice to see the sentiment so positive based on what property managers are actually willing to invest in. Now, I do think this is a great time to be in the industry, and so I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad to share some exciting new ideas with you today. Now, another thing that's been coming up this week in PM is how many accidental landlords are inquiring about renting their home as they move because they don't want to sell or they don't feel like it's the right time to sell. I know I'm not the first person to say this to you, and we've been talking about that for several weeks. And I know our coaches have been working through a lot of sales language and practice to help our BDMs understand what this new flood of clientele is looking for and how to best set expectations for them. So I'm excited if you're thinking about that and you're taking advantage of that. But on that note, I was also reminded today that there are more investors than ever sitting on the sidelines just waiting to scoop up residential rental properties when the market changes. And in fact, I had a quick catch-up call with Morgan from Discover this morning just to see what they're planning for 2024. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Discover, it's a fantastic software tool that every property manager should at least be aware of. Morgan reminded me of how he built his property management company several years ago by finding desirable rental properties and presenting them to his clients for purchase. Now, obviously, Discover is a tool to help you find those types of properties and to create CMAs or comps or analysis that will make you look like a professional when you hand that over to potential investors. And that got me thinking, as we move into 2024, let's make sure that we have a solution for the accidental landlords that are calling us. But let's not forget that the intentional investor is likely being underserved during this season. Now, even if the deals don't pencil, it can be a fantastic marketing tool to keep putting potential new deals in front of your potential investors on a regular basis. So I'd suggest looking into their property analysis tool at Discover or something similar, and make sure that you also check out their network of investment grade properties that your clients may actually be interested in making offers on. And use that info as a way to build relationships with your prospects and clients as we move into 2024 to prepare ourselves when the market makes its next shift, which it always does. So just like many of us woke up one day and found that the market had turned to an abundance of accidental landlords, the day will come where intentional investors will become the hot new flavor of the day. And you can be the trusted advisor that they already know if you start planning for it today. Okay, now the other thing that's happened this week is a buzz on the interwebs about residential benefit packages and how to take advantage of this solution without taking unnecessary risks or getting in trouble. And I want to thank Peter Lohman for bringing this to my attention with his very thoughtful newsletter last week about this exact topic. I'll make sure to drop a comment below with a link to his newsletter because I highly, highly recommend it if you're in the property management space. Now, all this buzz and uncertainty got me wondering about why there was so much concern and confusion about offering residential benefit packages. And then I remembered that every state has their own rules and regulations, and how many of the benefits we offer could be misconstrued by regulators and consumers. So I reached out to my good friend, Andrew Smallwood of Second Nature, who arguably is involved in more residential benefit packages across the US than anyone I know, to see if he'd have an open conversation with us today and you, our live viewers, on This Week in PM. Now, I'm excited to bring Andrew on as our featured guest, so don't waste any more time. But first, just a quick word from one of our sponsors.
Hi there. Did you know that RentScale hosts one of the largest communities of property management sales professionals in North America? Well, my name is Reese Register, and I'm actually a previous BDM and currently a scale coach here at RentScale. We provide over 20 hours monthly of teaching and training and accountability to make sure that our BDMs are supercharging their sales business through inbound, outbound, and allbound. So if you're interested in learning more about supercharging your business, go over to rentscale.com. We'll be glad to schedule a consult and see how we can help you transform your business today.
Help me welcome Andrew Smallwood, Chief Customer Officer of Second Nature. Andrew, thanks for taking the time today.
Jeremy, great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
I see you have all the purple mistletoe up. I would expect nothing less.
Just trying to keep up with the amazing setup you have over there. Really, really incredible. Love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we're totally mirrored on this. I love it. All right, so Andrew, thanks for coming. I want to get into the weeds, and I want to get into the deep stuff that you and I talked about, but I also don't want to leave anybody behind that might be hearing this term residential benefit package for the first time, or even wondering, why we feel like this was such a current topic. So would you mind just, kind of walking us through the history of residential benefit packages? I feel like you guys invented them. That may or may not be true, but what is it? Just give us the elevator pitch on what these are.
Yeah, sure. So for those, I guess, not familiar with Second Nature or with me, Second Nature originally started the company in 2012. And we actually started with a filter subscription delivery service. And a couple of years into that, I think like Dollar Shave Club for air filters, property managers started coming to us, I want to say around 2014. And how can I use this for my rental properties? Because, I forget to change my own filters, reminding a resident to do it is a really hard problem in a scattered site portfolio. Yeah. And fast forward a couple of years, had hundreds of customers deploying that service. And there started to be other things, whether it was renter's insurance or credit products or utility connection, just a lot of problems to solve where there was this similar motion to what we were doing with filter delivery, where, hey, this is part of the leasing process. It's part of what's offered to residents. It's an ancillary revenue stream. And there's a way to do this where it can be a triple win, where the residents getting a better experience, investors are getting protected against costs, and the team's job is made easier. You're proactively preventing problems and building a great experience. And so, I would say we saw other things here. We were recommending and referring other vendors. There were, I'd say some early innovators in the industry and kind of adopters putting some of these things together. And you could see how after 1 item, 2 item, 3 item, 4 item, you start to get this like line item fatigue. And so it was naturally, okay, how do we package this? And we started doing some education and featuring some of these panelists on, how to do this and put this together. In our own clients, we're like, hey, you should go do this. Go talk to these people and these people. And at the end of onboarding, we'd find like 95% of people, they got really busy. It's like, okay, I talked to this person, but I can't do like 5 sales processes and onboarding and manage all the vendors and streamlining the process. So I'd say the innovative place that Second Nature came in is kind of, how do we help streamline this process, make it easy to adopt so that it doesn't take 10 to 20 years to get to a place and help bring scale and the benefits of that to our customer base to create a great experience. So that's, I'd say, a short history of resident benefits packages, what's involved in kind of our role in it as we see it.
That's great. And I've kind of watched all this unfold. So maybe, just kind of clarify, if I'm an owner and I'm signing up with Mango Tree Property Management, what would be the benefit to me to want to do business with a property manager because they offer a strong residence benefit package?
Yeah, great question. And Jeremy, I feel like RentScale does a great job of actually talking about this, of helping property managers think strategically about how am I differentiating my company and what we offer in our market. And, something I think that was obvious to us was like, okay, the filter delivery, we're doing this, and there's maintenance benefits and reduction to the investor there. But something that kind of emerged as more and more people were doing a resident benefits package is that it actually helps professional property managers stand out and differentiate their business on, we're providing this unique resident experience, a resident experience people will pay for and stay for, and that solves problems that impact everybody. There's these triple win outcomes like paying rent on time. And so a rewards program, credit building program incentivize more residents to pay rent on time. The residents are getting a win out of that, building their credit score, earning rewards points. But the investor's obviously winning, right? If there's less delinquency and the property manager obviously not being stuck in the middle, that's good for them too. Protected, the renter's insurance, you can get a lower cost of property insurance if your renter's insurance coverage is in place there. There's certain protections in how we've structured our product that have specific benefits to investors. Filters I mentioned, kind of on down the list. We think about every product and every experience from that triple win lens of how does this impact the resident? How does this impact the investor? How does this impact the management team? How do we design this to maximize value for all parties involved?
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, it's really helpful to, just get that clarification on why it's not only making our lives easier as a property manager, but also the clients that we serve, right? So you're helping your clients help their clients. And then from a property management standpoint, I've just heard a lot of buzz about this when we're at conferences. People get excited about it. And I think that there's just, I guess really a residence benefits package is whatever we want it to be. Like there's no black or white, right or wrong. It's just really a palette or a plethora of services that we think will make our residents' lives easier. Is that a fair 50,000 foot view of what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'll hedge my bet at 99% to leave a edge case I may not be aware of, but nearly 100% of Second Nature's customers, what we're doing with them is actually saying, like, imagine a T-chart, right? And on one side, it's for rent by owner. And on the other side, it's professional property manager. And we're saying, hey, what are all the things that you do as a professional property manager already, or other vendors you may be using, right? That are differentiated, that aren't going to be part of the typical experience someone gets, directly from a for rent by owner. Cool. And then here's the thing Second Nature, right, can bring to add service, add value. And we really customize the package at an account level, but there's also variations by state and how things are structured, ultimately to reach the business outcomes that property managers want, which is a great resident experience, for the consumer, protecting investors, good result for their team, and getting a great business result out of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't harp on just kind of why we would do it in the first place or for too long, but it is important because I think some people watching this right now have never heard of this before. I know that may sound crazy because it's been around for several years. You guys are doing it at a pretty high level for a lot of people, but essentially it is just everything we're buying today, experience matters, right? And so I think it's very easy. Property management 1.0, hey, I provided you 4 walls and a door and you should be happy and just pay your rent, right? And then as we're competing with these multiplex properties popping up everywhere with in building spas and gyms and all these other things, or just basically other landlords who may feel like they just want to constantly lower their rent to steal tenants away, get them in the door. It's also sticky, right? So if I may have not been trying to rent this property because of this benefit, but once I enjoy the benefits, like so many things in business today, I never want to live without the benefits. Are you finding that? Are you finding that people are becoming loyal to that?
Yeah, I think it would be safe to say, even when you think about multifamily, what you're talking about a moment ago, like a common amenity that I kind of like juxtapose, we think about what are the experiences that people will pay for and stay for as a signal of value. And kind of a key metric we think about driving success for our customers is how do we increase the lifetime value, right, of customers for a property management company. And ultimately, it's allowed people to even shift their business model and their whole revenue model because the size and impact this can have. But coming back to multifamily, there's like the $8,000 pool table in the, in the common space, which has a lot of sizzle on like the tour and maybe like an attractive and like a cool thing. And it doesn't get used, 98% of the time, right?
Yeah.
That's probably one that's like, oh, interesting. Like maybe I can attract and pull more people through the leasing process. And that's kind of how you're paying attention to that more than is it getting a lot of usage as compared to, hey, the work from home, like telephone booth or whatever it might be, that might get a lot of usage and somebody's justifying, wow, the $400 I would spend on a WeWork or co-working space, I'm really getting that from the community I'm living in. And by assets, this is going to vary a lot when you think about the experience you're creating of 20-something young professionals in like, Fort Lauderdale in your backyard, Jeremy, what they're looking for, the golf simulators and the bark parks and whatnot versus, if I'm a family with a couple of kids in a single family home and school zone's important to me, like I'm probably looking for like different things, right, than a golf simulator, perhaps, in that scenario and the ability to share costs.
Yeah, 100%. Because I've worked with clients on these playbooks, and we're talking to an owner where it actually demonstrates to our owners as a property manager that we are plugged in to the modern renter. So some younger people, and it's not just an age thing, but it's just who's thinking about it, who's rented recently. When I use age, I mean maybe if you've been a renter and you're renting your home for the first time and you hear about these things, you're going to get it. For someone who hasn't rented in 15, 20, 30 years, it shows that you kind of know the tenant, right? And we all know that the secret to making more money from being a landlord is finding better tenants and keeping them longer. It's pretty hard to dispute that, right? And so this is just a great way for us to A, actually deliver on that as a property manager, and B, demonstrate that, signal that to our owners to show that we're different. So I'm totally sold on that. Let's jump into the details because that's what I want to talk about. Just briefly, what are the common elements of a second nature resident benefit package that you think is the strong offering?
Cool. Yeah, I'll hit this quick and very high level, but we have really 7 kind of key features that are 80% plus of our customers are including it in their packages. And so that includes filter delivery, where we started, a renter's insurance program, a utility connection concierge, what we like to call a move-in concierge. Most recently, we added on-demand pest control with our partners Pest Share, which has been going great, and we're seeing great customer response to. There's also a credit building product I alluded to earlier, which goes hand in hand with rewards and $1 million identity protection policy. So that's what Second Nature's offering, and then we kind of package all that. Our technology, process, and people is really our resident experience platform that powers all those benefits, and we work hand in glove with our partners to make it a easy experience to roll it out and adopt it in their portfolio.
Okay, so great. So I assume that you are, I shouldn't say I assume, you and I talked about this, but you are taking risk off the property manager's plate by doing this for them as well. So those things sound great. And I'll just set aside for a second the amount of time it would take me at Mango Tree Property Management to put all that together, and the Costco level economies of scale that you're able to probably offer to my tenants that I can't, right? Because if I have 400 doors under management, you're doing this, I'm assuming across tens of thousands of units, you're going to have that Costco level economy of scale. But basically, in addition to just making it easier, I also understand that a big part of your focus is on reducing the risk so that we do this right. Can you talk through about the thought process that's gone into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple ways of kind of like approaching this. So, when I think about like do's and don'ts as it relates to resident benefit package, whether somebody's working with Second Nature or not, and there are specific things, whether it's working with us or not, that would change the calculus a little bit of just how we can support things versus it may be challenging for someone to do on their own. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a broad conversation here about junk fees and what's happening in certain scenarios, and we keep a close eye on legislation, regulation that's happening. We structure things a little bit differently, with how we handle things in Oregon, right, versus Georgia. But key steps to rolling out a benefits package are pretty consistent. So one thing that's good for consumers, regardless of whether it's required or not, by legislators, good business practice we recommend is being transparent, right? And disclosing information throughout the process. So of course, the lease is kind of a key point of enrollment. Most people are enrolling residents at new leases. Some will accelerate adoption through the renewal process, but disclosures, which our team provides, here's lease templates, here's disclosure templates that are in-house counsel, in some cases, external counsel, if that's required for specific expertise in an area, have signed off on. Putting that into the screening disclosures, we create marketing collateral and things like that so that, residents can get information and understand who they're getting that information from, which is important. And, there's a key accounting piece of this as well, right? So there's an ancillary charge right alongside rent. It's how this is typically charged. And, depending on the area in the state, we recommend here's how you set things up so that it's compliant and reducing those kind of risks.
It's fantastic. It sounds very convenient. I know you're going very high level, Andrew, and you and I have had I've had the benefit of digging deep with you. So specifically, there are some things I could do at Mango Tree Property Management that would be, even if I worked with you. So I could go out and decide I want to do this on my own. And even if I say, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to just call my good friend Andrew and we're going to do this with Second Nature, I could still get in some hot water for doing certain things, right? And so these were some of the things that you wanted to make sure that that I was aware of. So what are the things that I might be intuitively accidentally doing that you wouldn't want me to do, like putting things on my website and some of the things that you talk to that, some clients might do without your counsel?
Yeah, we do some like regular compliance checks and reviews. And so occasionally we find this and make a client aware of it. And so some of the things that we're looking for, Jeremy, is, of the products that we offer, like renter's insurance, and referencing kind of like Peter Lohman's newsletter, right? That's a very regulated space. And, some things that we recommend people doing in the implementation of how they set that up is a key thing that regulators really care about is that you're not force placing insurance or requiring or mandating it, meaning it's very typical that you can require residents have renter's insurance, that they carry it for the full lease term, the amount of the coverage that they're, whether it's $100,000 or in some cases $300,000 of coverage. Property managers are within their rights to require that. What regulators are not happy about, and what isn't great for consumers, is saying you have to buy this specific product, right? Versus having an opportunity to go get a State Farm or Progressive policy, et cetera. So the way we design our program is there can be a master policy in place. We've got a customizable HO4. So if residents want to customize coverage, they've got a way to do that. If they want to go get their own insurance, they have the opportunity to do that. 365 days of the year out of their lease, they could go do that. And they'd be off the master policy on their own policy, which then we're looking for, okay, has the property manager been added as an additional insured or interest on the policy, so that we can be notified if there's a lapse and ensure there's no gaps in coverage. So you can manage to 100% compliance outcome, but it's not recommended to force 100% of consumers into a product that's likely to lead to a complaint, which can result in some risk. Other key things I think are important is that property management businesses are typically not licensed in insurance. And so there's specific activities like advertising and marketing and selling insurance that they don't want to be in. And so it's generally good business practice to put a lot of information on your website. I'm sure the RentScale team, teaches a lot of that. Hey, put this great marketing information for owners to find and engage with on your website. That's generally true. If it's information about renter's insurance and the coverages and the deductibles and, hey, here's why we think our policy is great, et cetera, just recommend property managers do not do that. And we provide collateral. There was a property manager in California actually who had a previous vendor they worked with, and they were switching to our insurance from the previous insurance. Like, yeah, I had this flyer laid out this way with all this information, so I just redid it with your guys' stuff. And I'm like, whoa, hang on. Give me that. Like, I understand what you're trying to do here. We can recreate that. We can put Second Nature Insurance Services on it, our producer number, so that resident understands, okay, it's Second Nature Insurance Services, right, who's offering me this insurance product. And that's who I'm dealing with, right? As it relates to that, we just recommend property managers throw everything over the fence. We've got dedicated web pages, support team, et cetera, with appropriate licensed staff to handle that. So those are some of the key things I think it's important for people to know.
Well said. And by the way, I'm very impressed. I told you, Andrew, I don't want to make this a commercial for your company, but I think what you're doing is really well thought out. And I'm very impressed on how you're not only offering the service, but then you're helping people understand how to offer the service, right? So there seems to be a huge onboarding customer service component, which is amazing. Now, the other thing I just want to add to what you just said, which I love, because I thought of this timely. I got a flat tire last week. I told you about this. And I just happen to have that insurance that the car dealer sells you for tire and wheel. And I have very expensive tires and very expensive wheels. And we got this great insurance that paid for itself. But it reminded me that, it's not the car dealership or the car brand that's telling me about this. You mentioned the website. I'm not going to the car dealer's website and researching what kind of car and wheel insurance, because I'm not thinking about it. So I'm essentially going to do business with the car, manufacturer and dealer. I'm going to wrap up what I'm there for, which is, again, what your tenants are doing. Your tenants are there to secure 123 Mango Street, right? They love the home. They want to get in. And then I at Mango Tree Property Management, I'm going to say, hey, I've got some amazing opportunities for you. We got some loose ends to tie up. I'm going to throw you over the fence, to use your term. And now, just like I bought insurance from Acme Tire Insurance and I didn't buy it from the dealership, I am now engaging with Second Nature Services, not with Mango Tree Property Management, right? Am I getting that right? I want to make sure I'm doing that justice, because I feel like that's the clarity that I got from talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, I like your example from the standpoint of, I think a lot of people can relate, whether they're buying an airline ticket and then they see like the, Alliance travel insurance, right, as an example there, or purchasing a product. Like I recently bought a couch on Wayfair, right, and there was products, or maybe a phone and there's like a Shurian, product that's related to that. And so, I mean, insurance is a big business, and there's a lot of it's a big industry, right? And there can be things that, correlate from those consumer experiences to how rental and property insurance works. There can be things that are specific, and again, area specific, how they're handled. But yeah, I think it's generally a good advice to say, is it clear and transparent to the consumer who's offering the insurance and who they're going to be interacting and dealing with, and ensuring that the licensed activities, right, of insurance are falling on the licensed party, and that if you're a non-licensed entity, that you're not engaging in those activities. I think that's good advice.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate you sharing all the details. I feel free to let me know. I want to wrap up here. Respect your time. I know you've got a line of 50 property managers wanting to know all about the risks of residence benefit packages to talk to you. So I wanted to have you on the phone, have you on the call, and try to wrap this up for you. I hope it's clear for everybody watching on what I'm hoping and asking the questions, because I talked to a lot of people before I called you, Andrew, and I thought, what are the things people want to know? So one, I want you to share anything that you didn't get to say that I didn't get to ask. But two, you can separate these. I also think that sometimes in life and in business, we simply say no to anything that involves risk. But I think this, you don't build a business by not taking some calculated risk, right? If the default answer is that if anything can go wrong, I'm not going to do it, I actually feel like that's going to be a really hard way to build a business, right? I mean, capitalism and entrepreneurship at its heart is taking calculated risk. Otherwise, we wouldn't do this stuff. So I would, like I said, I want you to share anything that I didn't get to ask, but I also want to hear your thoughts on what is the property management entrepreneur missing out on by not investing in something like this benefit package?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think generally, Jeremy, what you're saying there is, I think property managers are very accustomed to, it's funny, we had a Facebook post that was like, what's the biggest threat to single family rental, like as an industry? Right? Nothing about residence package. And a lot of what we heard was like government legislation. I think property managers are well attuned to, part of the reason you work with a professional property management, like as it gets legislatively more complicated, I've heard many property managers talk about this, about how Australia and the environment there, it actually creates more demand, like in one way. So like legislation, regulation, has that impact that way. If you can be educated about it and help, address the risk. There's people who've designed programs where somebody else would just say no. They're saying yes, but I understand the risk and I have a way of addressing the risk and I'm comfortable with the risk. That's important. And I would say we keep a close eye. We like to participate on the legislative side, the regulatory side. And if something happens or if something changes, I'll just think the only example I can think of this year is from Colorado, passed some legislation which required different disclosures. It didn't change like what the resident benefit package was or pricing or this, that, but it did change how it was disclosed. And so, we stayed on that, updated customers, got on calls with them, had a group education event, and within a couple of weeks had, quickly gone through it. And I think that's important if people are thinking about, there's an area where there's some gray area, being vigilant. We always recommend people, we provide templates, everything like that. We always recommend they run it by their local attorneys, and we're happy to have our counsel talk to their counsel at any point of the process. And yeah, I think if something happens, reacting quickly it is important, and moving quickly to ensure you're compliant would be a good recommendation. I think last thing I'll say, Jeremy, is we've been working probably a year and a half actually on something we're really excited about. That's really, how do we bring more transparency? How do we bring more choice to the resident? How do we also not sacrifice accountability, right? Which is important to the property managers and the investors, that residents are holding up their responsibilities in the way that make taking care of the home, maximizing the home as an asset, as well as a place to live. And we're really excited to be bringing this onboarding software to folks, because it almost turbo taxes the lease. Like, we know residents don't read the lease, and that leads to these kind of like ticking time bombs of experience expectation gaps that can lead to upset consumers. And so, solving for that, not just on the providing services side, but also setting expectation size and how people are enrolled, and allowing, if you unlock the individual resident experience, right, and provide what's really relevant and great for people there, you're probably going to be in a good place. If you're doing what's good for consumers, that's where things are going to move the most from a legislative regulation standpoint. But also that's where a lot of the business opportunity is. And if you unlock that personalization of the resident experience, that's how, you can unlock it at scale. So we're really excited about what we're working on, and excited to follow up with people in 2024 and show them what we've been working on there.
It's been highly educational for me this entire week. I thank you for spending the time with me leading up to this. I talked to many people who wanted some clarity, and you've been awesome. I also want to just say that for anybody thinking about this, I know Second Nature, and you've told me you've got a team of people willing to take the craziest questions anybody has. So if you're concerned about it, you can doomsday, you can think about anything that could go wrong, or you could just pick up the phone and be like, hey, what if this happens, right? And am I right,
Sure.
Andrew? You guys are happy to talk through all of these things one-on-one.
Yeah, I will say Andrew Smallwood does not have all the answers, but there's a whole and huge team, at Second Nature and outside counsel. We're definitely happy to support anybody that's got questions. Happy to support that. Feel free to reach out to us, and happy to help.
Andrew, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I really respect and appreciate you, and it's I'm glad that we got to spend some time together this week, even though it was under a business, guys.
Jeremy, thanks for the invite. This was really cool to do this. My first time like this, doing like a live internet talk show. And I just can't say enough how big of a fan we are of RentScale. And it's not just the great results that we see our clients and mutual clients getting, but what you guys do for the industry as a whole to really elevate the conversation. We really appreciate that, and appreciate the invite today.
Right back at you, man. Take care, bud.
Take care, everybody.
Guys, well, I wanted to take some more live questions, and we've got some coming through. But essentially, we're going to chat. I'll ask Andrew if he can answer some of those questions on the live chat. I was just so caught up in everything he was talking about and we were doing that I forgot to check all of the questions there. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to wrap up by looking at the calendar for 2024, just the first quarter, which is packed. But before we do that, I just want to hear from one more sponsor, and I'll be right back to walk you through what we're doing in Q1 of 2024. This episode is brought to you by Strategic PM, the magazine for property management entrepreneurs and executives. If you go online to strategicpm.com today, you're going to find an entire website full of content written about your industry and by your peers. And it's completely free to sign up. Just go ahead and click on the create a free account right in the upper right-hand corner. When you click on that, not only can you create a digital account, but you can actually add your mailing address and we will send you a free 1-year subscription of the print magazine, which will be showing up in your offices every single quarter. So if you take a look inside the magazine, what you're gonna see is that we are focused on growth. We've got 5 pillars of Strategic PM: vision, strategy, culture, marketing, and experience. You're gonna be seeing some great high-class content from some of the best thought leaders in the industry talking about the matters that matter the most to your business. So sign up for free today at strategicpm.com and look for the magazine in your office. Well, we've been asking for your feedback on upcoming events and our calendar has really grown. Q1 and Q2 are filled with opportunities to learn more about property management and mastermind with your peers. So let's jump in and take a look at the calendar. All right, well, rest up, enjoy your Christmas cookies and anything you want to do over the New Year's, because starting in January, we've got a ton of events. On January 18th, we've got the Property Management Resolutions Expo. Now, Tal Kramer from Atlanta told me all about this event. This is a special event by the Atlanta chapter of NARPM, and they're bringing in an economist and they're talking through what they think is happening in the real estate industry. And so it is a 1-day event. And if you can get to Atlanta, which I think everybody can, or you're in the Atlanta area, I highly recommend it. We'll drop all of the links to this into the show notes below. Now, just a little bit later, January 23rd to 26th, if you're feeling lucky and you want to go to Las Vegas, we've got the PM Systems Workshop. Now, Paul, Wolf, Matthew, all of my good friends who are all systemed up are ready to share with you everything they're thinking about how to use systems. And coming from Lead Simple University, there is a lot of exciting technology that you can be working on. So although I won't be able to make it because of a conflict, I highly recommend this as a conference that you look into if you're ready to scale your business. Now, at the beginning of February, if you're a Key Renter franchise, you will see Jen on my team and myself as we are going to the Key Renter Franchise Summit. It is on a cruise ship leaving from Fort Lauderdale, my backyard, which is pretty exciting. I'm excited to share a ton of marketing ideas with you guys. So looking forward to see you there. On February 6th, we've got the BizDev Mastermind Seminar. Now, as you guys know, BizDev is an alternative to RentScale, but we do think those guys do great things. And if you were not able to make it to Sales Mastery, we think they're going to have an amazing event as well. It's in San Antonio on February 6th. We've also got the beginning of the annual conferences that are regional and statewide. We've got the North Carolina Property Management Conference in Charlotte at the end of February, the 28th and the 29th. I've been in that conference many times. I will likely be at this one. It is always a fantastic group of people and fantastic learning experiences. We've also got the California NARPM State Conference. I do believe I will be at this one. In fact, several members of my team, I believe, are actually speaking there. It is March 28th and 29th in Napa Valley, which is probably why I'm going to be there. I won't lie, but we're really excited about that conference as well. This will be my first California NARPM State Conference, although I've heard amazing things. And just barely spilling over into Q2, I also want to say that we've got the Denver NARPM Conference. I spoke there last year. It was amazing. It was a 1-day event last year. This year, it's going to be a 2-day event. I will be speaking again. It's April 8th and 9th in Denver, Colorado. And if you've ever seen me speak in Denver, the fun is showing up and seeing how long I can talk without getting out of breath, because I live at 14 feet above sea level here in South Florida. And when I'm out there in Denver, it's always a struggle for me to speak on a stage for an hour, but always love it and excited to do that. So that's the calendar. If you guys have more events that you want to share, please drop them in the comments. I will add them, as you can see, and we want to build this calendar up for you guys. We'll drop in the links to all those events. I do want to ask you guys, as we grow this show. This was episode number 9. Next, or 2 weeks from now, we're gonna have episode number 10. I'm very excited about that. We'll be here in studio. I will have my entire RentScale coaching team. So expect maybe me not to even be the host on the next episode and have my coaching team running the show, which is pretty excited. But if you like the show, please like Strategic PM, subscribe, and consider sharing this with your friends. We're putting a lot of time into this, as you can see. I'm trying to stay relevant and give you guys information you want, answer the questions you have. We're doing this for you. So please support us if that's something you're interested in. Hope that everyone has an amazing, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas next week, Happy New Year. And that's what's happening this week in PM. And we'll see you in 2024.